Welcome back to the Packers Corner. The big question was, can the Packers get it done against Shanahan and the 49ers? And it was a resounding yes, 38-10. We're going to break it down. And I've taken a hard stance on Caleb Williams this year. Is my stance cracking? Have we reached a tipping point? No, we have not. But we'll get into that after the break. The autumn wind is a Packer.
The autumn wind is a Packer, blustering in from the bay. With a rollicking song, he sweeps along, banging the drum all day. His face is weather-beaten. He wears a cheese-filled cache with a green and gold cape on his back and a frozen stiff mustache. He rumbles across the tundra, a hero brave and bold. And the fans all cheer and raise their beer as he fights through rain and cold. The autumn wind is a Packer, tackling just for fun. He'll knock you round and upside down and bask in the Titletown sun.
Boys, we got together for this one, got to watch it from the golf simulator, the basement over at my dad's place there, and we had a heck of a time. The best part was we got a win. You remember the last time we played the 49ers and you came over to the basement there, Schmitty?
Yeah, we were all a little bit concerned about our new $50 million man, weren't we? We were concerned that this guy didn't really have what it took to take a team to the nth degree and get us a Super Bowl. And it was rightfully so, because up until this week, Griffey, he had thrown a pick in every game that he started. So it was good to see us take care of the Niners. I was talking to you guys throughout the game before. It's been, 2.5 months since we've seen our Packers win handedly. And so for us to have possession, I think we had 20 minutes of possession in the first half. Josh Jacobs continues to be the best money spent in the NFL in the offseason this year. Pretty excellent performance throughout. There's only a couple blunders that I'd have to call out. Honestly, the reason I'm wearing a sweater today, I got sick. I'm sick of Christian Watson, Griffey. The guy has no business being on the field for us. I don't want to hear it anymore that he's the guy that we can rely on. He came to play for us last week against the Bears. Maybe he didn't catch that one ball. I'm starting to think the other way on that catch. Maybe he didn't catch it, and his stat line wouldn't be so great. He would have certainly helped out number 10 with his stat line. It would have gave him about 150 yards and 2 touchdowns in that first half. How do you not catch a ball that's right over your shoulders? Jordan couldn't have put it in a better spot. And so I'm just thinking, especially now with our the New York Times percentages, if you will, we're a team that's looking to be in the playoffs. Can you count on Christian Watson? I'm not so sure. I think I'd rather see the Malik Heath and maybe the Dontavian Wicks of the world. But because I know I can count on Bull Melton, I know I can count on Romeo Dobbs. I'm just concerned about some of those pass catchers, Christian Watson being the one that when it comes time for it, I don't know if I'm throwing him the ball when it's 4th and 7 and we need a first down to keep our playoff hopes alive.
Well, he's given us whiplash, isn't he, Schmitty? Because we said, you can't count on this guy. Then he bounces back, and then we're all in again, and back and forth, and I don't know what to make of it all. So it's been tough to watch that because we were looking for him to take this next step. Dad, what do you make of Christian Watson? But also, what do you make of the fact that we just got to win here? We got to feel good about that, right?
Well, yes, we have to accentuate the positive here. I think, Schmitty a lot of times is influenced by the 4 fingers. I think probably tonight it's the pseudoephedrine and the Vicks Vapor Rub rubbed all over his chest. He's a little under the weather. You can hear that gravelly voice. And so there's a pharmacological effect there that's caused him to be a little less optimistic than he usually is. He's usually very optimistic about the Bears, but we can get into that a little bit later because they had quite a tilt with the Vikings. But gentlemen, lots to be positive about. Sure, some things to pick on, but I want to tell you, and you're watching it right here, this Green Bay Packer football team has begun to develop an identity that could bode very well for them. This is not a soft offensive line. We've had a softish offensive line for the better part of 20 to 25 years. Not since Amon Green have we had a dominating run game performance like this bunch. And it just makes everything else work so well. And you said it, Schmitty, the acquisition of Josh Jacobs, fantastic. But don't forget about Xavier McKinney and the kicker that we now have that really makes this team look good. And I will tell you, I think this team will go as far as our young receivers developing and becoming consistent will take us. Because you're right, Watson, we need a new award, Schmitty. We got the cheese-filled cash. We got the green and gold cape. We got the frozen stiff mustache. Now we need the yo-yo award. And nobody knows more about the yo-yo award than you, my friend. And Christian Watson gets the yo-yo award. We were just salivating and drooling all over his performance last week. And, this game is put away if he makes that catch in the first half. Game's over in the first half. Against a good team, not making a play like that is the difference between winning and losing potentially, or coming right down to the end for a nail biter. So, yes, keep it in perspective. Team still hasn't played a complete game, and yet they are ascending. Penalties going down, drops going down, albeit the bad one by Watson, and defense playing well. So lots to focus on, lots of good stuff moving forward. We got to get it done this Thursday. We don't want to go backwards there. So looking good at the moment.
Well, one of the things I was looking forward to coming into this game was thought this would be a real measuring stick for us this point in the year, going against a 49ers team that we've had trouble with in the playoffs for many years. Kyle Shanahan's had our number. We've got him a couple times in the regular season, but I thought this was going to allow us to identify where we are in terms of, real Super Bowl contender or what the deal is that way. With Brandon Allen at the helm, Schmitty, it's tough to make that sort of an evaluation. How, we win in a dominating fashion. Could have been worse with the Christian Watson deal. Could have been a lot tighter on that phantom holding call on the kick return for Deebo Samuel. The Niners got the ball with a chance to make it a one-score game heading into fourth quarter. Could have been a close game, too. So how do you think we line up as we look towards the postseason and being a real Super Bowl contender, given what we just saw?
Yeah, unfortunately, you don't get to see the real test. I think this would have been a really good one, especially at home, testing against the Niners, who are still, and I think arguably the best team in the NFC West. I'm really impressed with how we were able to finally put this game away. When it was 17-10 before X's pick, I was pretty concerned. We're playing against a guy that's had 9 starts in a 9-year career, and we're seemingly unable to put them away. The Christian Watson touchdown drop would have certainly helped with that. You always want to see your team tested as you go down the stretch. We know the Packers are likely a playoff team already. And so you wanted to see them go up against the Niners best. They didn't have that. That's sometimes how it goes in the NFL. People are going to get injured. We don't have Jair, right? So you want to see Jair go up against their one. They don't have Brian Ayuk. They don't have Nick Bosa. They don't have their left tackle and Trent Williams. And they don't have their starting quarterback. All those things play a factor. You had no other option besides the Packers winning in handed fashion. And so winning 38-10, while yes, you don't get to see him against Brock Purdy, you still get to see the complement of work, the offense and the defense. To Gar's point, now our offensive line, top 3 maybe in the NFL. They are road graders that carries you throughout the rest of the season. That's something you can rely upon, especially when Jordan Love doesn't have those eye-bulging stat lines. If you recall, some of these issues in the past with our playoff runs. It's that you had Aaron Rodgers trying to throw the ball 40 times because your defense gave up 35 plus points often. Your offensive line, your time of possession necessarily wasn't there because of the style of offense that we were running. This just seems like a different style of attack for what this Packers brings to any team that they're going to play later as it gets colder out. So, well, yes, we didn't get to see the full complement of the Niners. I think this is a one where you can smile about where this team can go. They get to the divisional last year. I think with a win like that, and if you take care of business on Thursday, that's really the floor for this team.
Dad, I want to get your thoughts on the same question where we stank up amongst the ranks of the whole NFL, NFC, however you want to go with that. Given the context of this game, beating a backup quarterback, but also we talked in the offseason quite a bit in your office, I recall, Dad, about what a running game in the postseason might mean for bringing back the home field advantage at Lambeau Field. And you guys want to talk about playoffs. We've had the Gonculator from last year from the New York Times here. I'll tell you, we're making the playoffs. I want to contemplate if we have a chance to get some home field advantage and walk me through all that, Dad, if you would.
Get that off the screen. I don't want the players to see that. We're looking at one thing and one thing only. That's the Miami Dolphins on Thanksgiving, and we don't even talk about the playoffs. Playoffs? What are you talking about playoffs? Well, that's not even in the picture. But here's the reality, gentlemen. We played a team a couple years ago in the playoffs from the San Francisco 49ers with a quarterback by the name of Jimmy Garoppolo. And we had an MVP quarterback by the name of Aaron Rodgers. And we could not get it done because they bully balled us. They stopped our running game. They rushed the passer. They ran through us like a hot knife through butter. And Jimmy Garoppolo made enough plays along with their special teams to beat us, 13-10? And so that was very possible in this game. Were we not a team that is built to run the football and stop the run? And that's what we did Sunday. And that has to bode very well for us. We got a defense that's ascending and looking good. Yes, their second string quarterback gave us a couple, but we can't apologize for that. And they lost their left tackle. We lost a left tackle last year. They could have drafted a 7th round draft pick called Rasheed Walker and had him fill in over there and been ready to go. But we did that. So I don't feel sorry for that. We lost a quarterback for 2.5 games. They could have picked up Malik Willis over there in San Francisco if they were astute enough to be on the ball that way, but the Green Bay Packers did.
That's what Keyshawn Nixon said. Did you hear that?
I did not hear that.
He said this is the NFL. We won 3 games with our backup quarterback.
That's what I was going to say. This is the NFL. Nobody's asking to feel sorry for us when we had to play that way. So, no, we don't have to apologize. Certainly, it's not the same as having beaten Brock Purdy. And I'm not so sure I really want to see Brock Purdy in the playoffs. But for now, we're in good shape. We got to focus now on Miami. And to be quite honest, this is where the season comes to a head now, gentlemen. We've really been kind of in neutral, trying to find ourselves. Our young guys look like a little bit of a sophomore fade for some of these guys, especially the wide receivers. And it's about time now in these last 5-6 games for that sophomore year to be over and these guys to start holding their own. And if they do, if we can get some consistent play out of Christian Watson and Dontavian Wicks and guys, even Romeo Doubs, he had some nice plays, but he dropped 2 again, right in the frame. If that ball's in your frame, I don't care if you have to reach back a little bit. If it's on your frame, you're an NFL receiver. We got to make that play 95% of the time. So if these things happen and these young receivers come around, then we're going to do well. Only other thing I would add is, no, Jordan Love did not have a turnover, but this is how this quirky game works. In my estimation, he had 2 or 3 turnover-worthy plays. The balls were not caught, so everything looks good. In some of those other games where you're all upset, he's made the same kind of turnover-worthy play, but they caught them all. So the returning to the mean on these and then him getting a little bit smarter, in particular, gentlemen, I think you'd agree with me, right before the half, when Christian drops the sure touchdown, you got to come back there with a 10, 15-yard slant over the middle, get in field goal position and get 3 points there. That is an egregious error to throw the ball way down the field 3 times in a row, get greedy there and end up with no points. So we got some things to clean up.
There's meat left on the bone, no doubt about it. And sometimes that's a sign of a good team. If we can end up capturing all that, look out. But remains to be seen. Schmitty, my dad is not willing to entertain the look ahead here. He's trying to keep the boys focused on the prize ahead. Does it matter to us that we only have a 23% chance to get the 1 seed, even if we win out here? What do you make of that?
It doesn't really matter, Griffey, because you can write this off. To catch the Lions at this point, and I know we're only 2 games behind, we're still a game behind the Vikings as well. Now we're going to play both of them down the stretch. The Eagles are playing just as good, and so to expect the 3 teams in the conference that are ahead of us right now for record, it's really hard and indicative of the 23% that's before you to say that we're going to be able to topple all 3 of those teams to get home field throughout the playoffs. I could certainly see a scenario where you beat the division foes, and there's a slim chance that we beat the Bears in that last week, and that gives us the division. Honestly, with a little bit of help from some other teams to beat the Vikings and the Lions. But then you're still with the 2 seed, and you're not getting that bye. So it's all fun and good. You win every game. You have a 23% chance. I'm fine with that. Would be quite the outcome if we win out and we get that bye. Very, very unlikely. 23% even to me seems high, truthfully, with this how good the Eagles are playing right now. Because now that's another factor into this. Is what's the Lions are playing well. The Eagles, after watching that game, they look like gangbusters. So make of it what you want. I'm not getting too worked up about it. No,
sky's not falling for you, Schmitty. That's good.
Not quite.
Well, the other thing I wanted to dive into there, and the calculator wasn't cooperating, was that if we go 2-4, the worst case 2-4 scenario on the way in here, 82% chance of making the playoffs. So we have a little wiggle room. Hopefully we don't need to use it, but I think there's plenty of room for hope and optimism at this point of the year, and a little bit of room for improvement too. So look out if we can make that happen. We're going to dive into the Dolphins game in a bit here, of course, but I want to talk a little bit around the NFC North and some of the other games we got coming up in the division too. But first,
let me hold it right there. A couple more. Just change the format a little bit here for me. We got to talk about some guys that have been much maligned on this ball club that actually made plays this week. Now, as to your playoff calculator, really quickly here, Griff. Last year at this point in time, we were in 4-6 with a 23% chance to make the playoffs. Okay, so this can go either way. If we win this game, we beat Miami. That's all we need to worry about. We know who comes up after them. He whose name should not be mentioned is right after Miami, and then after that, we can begin to look at what the opportunities and odds are. But Lucas Van Ness, Schmitty, first-round draft pick, ran through the defensive tackle, around McCaffrey, came from the back, sacked the quarterback, and forced a fumble. Quay Walker, making tackles in the backfield, breaking up passes, dropped an interception, okay, but flashed some plays. Dontavian Wicks gets in the game and catches a ball. And your favorite, Schmitty, I know you're gonna love this one because we were sitting right by each other watching the game, and I ran this by you. Is it time for Schmitty to do a little bit of a mea culpa on Josh Myers? Punching holes in the line, down on the goal line, so Josh Jacobs could get that ball in the end zone. And Griff, you and I talked about it. We told him how to solve their red zone problems. You throw the ball to Tucker Kraft, and to hand the ball off to Josh Jacobs. And that's exactly what they did. Kraft scores on the first one. Oh, another one of those trips to the red zone, they throw the ball to Kraft, and he goes 15 yards down to the 1-inch line, and then Jacob takes it in, and Jacobs gets the credit. But that's a Tucker Kraft. I haven't heard any of the pundits mentioning that Tucker Kraft was very key. I think in Tucker Kraft, we got a little bit of a poor man's Kelsey almost down there, guys, and we haven't used him enough. He's the guy who doesn't drop the ball, hangs on. So I just had to get that in there. I hope I didn't throw off our format too much with the master ceremonies, but I thought that was an important mention. And of course, the green and gold cape goes to Josh Jacobs, and the cheese-filled cash, probably Jordan Love, and an honorable mention to Xavier McKinney on the other end, too, for his good play in the defensive backfield.
No, I got a mute button if we need to use it. I think you're dialed in there. Appreciate the interjection. We got to give out some awards when we get a win like this.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. You brought up much maligned and mea culpa, and that makes me think of Caleb Williams here. I think, Dad, you're ready to jump ship on this one. Are you ready to join Schmitty and be all aboard the Caleb Williams hype train? Tell me how your perspective is shifted on that one.
Well, first of all, we have a couple of dedicated listeners to the podcast week in and week out from Amory, Wisconsin. And we know one of them that we see at the deer camp, Dr. Daniel Satterland, and he said I have to clean up my vocabulary. No more piss poor talking using this kind of vocabulary. So we had to bring in maligned and malfeasance and up the ante on our vocabulary there. So I hope Dr. Satterland is happy with that. I know he's never uttered any kind of a slang term at all. We would never expect that from our good buddy in the deer camp, Stretchy Satterland. And then, of course, my mother, who couldn't stand my beard. I'm 65 years old, and God bless my mother. She's just a little bit older than me, and she was so fit to be tied with that beard. So we've cleaned up our act. We've cleaned up our language. And we got some better vocabulary going on, so I think that's going to lift the Packers up to victory, and I'm glad we had a chance to set the record straight there, too.
Did you hear my question there?
No, I didn't listen to your question at all.
That was abundantly clear, but we can recover. Caleb Williams, Dad. I told you, much maligned. Has your perspective shifted on him?
I texted Schmitty. You can vouch for this. I texted you both. This guy is going to be a problem in the NFC North. I am doing a 180 on him, watching him up close and personal. He's got an unbelievable rocket for an arm. And the guy looks like Fran Tarkenton with a rocket pack attached to his hind end. He can flat out move. He's still rookie, man. God darn it, Caleb. Why do you dance back there for 15 seconds and take a 15-yard sack in overtime when all you got to do is throw it away and play for another down? But unfortunately, he's going to learn from that. Should have beat the Vikings. Would have been an incredible. He talked, it was like that Cardinals game where Poole catches the ball in the end. We would have heard PA going, no! And we were just that close to it, but Caleb made a boo-boo at the end. But no, I am with Schmitty 100%. This is you notice since he stopped painting his fingernails, there's no purse on the sideline. He's been playing NFL ball, and he's got quite a cadre of receivers. So you got DJ Moore, and he's got 13 over there, and he's got Rome Odunze, and he's got a good tight end and a good running game. So watch out. I'm not ready to give up on the admonition and the projection, the portend now that the Bears still could figure in. If we do get a shot at the first seed, it'll because the Bears did something miraculous to help us out.
Sure. Well, I want to give you just a little bit of perspective here, and Schmitty will get your thoughts too. That Caleb Williams with the future Hall of Fame wide receiver, Keenan Allen, a multiple-time Pro Bowler, DJ Moore, top 10 pick at wide receiver in Rome Odunze, the good running game, a heck of a defense. and he's managed to lead them to 0 wins and 5 losses in their last 5 games. 2 touchdowns that he's accounted for in 5 games. And so I'm still pumping the brakes a little bit. Did we maybe see a shift? Has he been better the last 2 weeks? I don't think there's any doubt about it. He was abysmal. He was historically bad coming into the last couple of weeks here. He gave the Packers a scare, should have beat us, and very well could have beat the Vikings. And that's impressive coming against your, division foes. And as Schmitty says, maybe we'll be seeing that for the next 15 years. I don't know if I'm ready to go there yet. I'm still holding the line, but I did see for the first time a bit of a flash that you could project. I see, you always saw the arm talent and the spectacular things he did running around at USC, but I saw him making consistent plays at the NFL level on 3rd and 4th down over and over against the Packers, and he did similar thing against the Vikings, and that's the type of thing that can breed success in the NFL. So at least I'll crack the door open on Caleb Williams. Schmitty, can you give the listeners a blow-by-blow breakdown of how my dad was reacting at the end of this Vikings-Bear game?
Griffey, if you put a rim in the family room and gave that man a basketball, he could have dunked it from the floor. He could have dunked it from the couch that he was sitting on. That's how excited he is about the Caleb Williams era that is now the Bears. And I'm so glad to see that you've cracked the door open and recognized some talent. You saw him leak out to the right and throw that absolute dime to DeAndre Swift outside the numbers. He has that ability, and I know you've called that out before. He can do that. He did that a bunch at USC.
I think that's the exact play call that I said we're going to see him scramble out, extend the play, make a throw down the field, and he did it. That play was awesome.
Yes, so the talent's there. Griffey, you just meant 0-5, 2 touchdowns that he's accounted for. You're saying all this like you forgot that which team he plays for and who's his coach and what that organization and how it's ran. He's doing all this. That door got open even with that crack in the door that you're talking about. Even with he's persevering through a bunch of BS that is the Chicago Bears organization and still looking good. It's hard not to think that he only gets better and better and becomes a problem, becomes that franchise quarterback that the Bears have longed for such a long time. So I'm certainly not worried this year. We have a great organization in the Packers, so it's hard to say. We've been big brothers to them for a very, very long time, in our lifetimes at least. To say that we would need to see it for 3, 4, 5 years of dominance by the Bears to say that they've turned this whole thing around. But they have a good start in Caleb Williams, and they got some good pieces around him. When you got a good defense and some talented receivers that you mentioned, that's kind of how you want to surround a rookie quarterback, especially a top pick, because I know other organizations, the Jets, for example, and their carousel of QBs, you can do it the wrong way. And so even with Matt Eberflus being the coach, their new OC that's now been calling plays for the last 2 weeks, they're doing something right. That's all I'll say at the time. And it's kind of the wait and see. He's still a really young kid. So come talk to me when he's 25 and he's seen a couple more snaps, because I think that's a good test. If you start to compare him, like what his 25-year season looks like, you compare it to Jordan Love's, and let's do that and down the road.
See how he's performing for the Argonauts up north of the border there when he hits his 25 season. I'm teasing. Let's put up the records here. With us getting into double digits here, I'm running out of room on your window there, Schmitty. I might have to work on that. I've rattled off 10 in a row here, and so I'm a little nervous to make any picks. I don't want to screw up that record. Dad, I know you're a little bit upset that you're beating me on the Packer picks, but that's not represented in the overall picks here, so I just wanted to give you your shine that way and acknowledge I think you're 10-1, and I had the one asterisk dating back to the Hail Mary and the Jaden Daniels game where I had abstained from picking. I didn't give myself a win or a loss because I said it was contingent on Jaden Daniels playing. So a little bit of an asterisk. That's why we have different numbers here. But we've all been on a heater. Schmidt, it wasn't that long ago you had 0 wins. So you're coming up fast too. Let's quickly go through the NFC North games. We got a matchup, Bears and Lions on Thanksgiving. And Dad, start with you. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, I'm kind of bored with these picks other than the Packers, as I have alluded to in the past. I mean, what are you going to do here? The Lions are going to take care of business here. They're not in any mood to let Caleb Williams go in. And I got to just point out, Schmidt, it's not that I was euphoric about Caleb Williams. Anytime I can see the purple get beat, I'm buzzing around like a blue tick flea all over the house here. And to think that I predicted the Bears were going to win that game, and there they are down by, 11 points with 30 seconds to go in the game, and they score a touchdown, get a 2-point conversion, recover the onside kick, and I sitting here and I told Griff they got time to go one deep slant over the middle, run up, clock the ball, and kick the field goal, and I'll be darned if they don't do it. And if they hadn't had that field goal blocked, anyway, blah, blah, blah. So
I think that was the first time I was ever doing a skull chant. My hatred for Caleb Williams was bleeding through. I'm sorry.
I've been so proud of you your whole life, and I was never more scornful about you than I was in that moment. I just about couldn't take it. It was tough on the old man.
Schmitty, what do you got for this Thanksgiving matchup in the NFC North?
Yeah, if there was going to be games for them to win, it was against the Vikings and the Packers. They are going to get steamrolled, Griffey. I can't imagine it's going to be relatively close. The odds makers have this game, I think, at 11 points right now. So maybe they stick around. They're feisty. The Lions just take care of business. I think they keep them an arm's length, 10 points pretty much throughout the game, and maybe you see the line or the Bears make this single digits with being the last team to score. So it's the Lions, no question.
Maybe as biased as I am against Caleb Williams, I feel a similar bias towards the whole Lions team. Been saying that this is one thing I've been way off the mark on. I said for a whole year last year, we don't have to worry about the Lions. We know who the Lions are, and maybe I got to start saying that because it's not working out for us so far. I'm picking the Lions. I just about picked the Colts last week. I had sense not to do that. We got to pick the Lions, and maybe I got to screw my head on straight there and give the kiddies their due. Dad, we got Cardinals at the Vikings. Any chance Kyler Murray gets it done against the purple?
I don't think so. I went on a limb and picked the Bears last week because the Vikings were an outdoor field and Soldier Field in the Windy City, and I had a feeling that they might be vulnerable there. But I don't think Kyler Murray comes into the bank with all that pumped-in noise and that goofy soccer chant they got going there, and skull sounds like they're trying to say score with a mouthful of marbles. But at any rate, we got to pick the purple here. I hate to say.
Schmitty, are you of the same mind, or are we going with Kyler?
Griffey, what color jersey are the Cardinals going to be wearing? If they wear a red or a black uni, Griffey, they roll. I'm gonna have them by 14 points. So this is a wait and see.
Well, they're on the road, so I would imagine they're wearing white.
Oh, good Lord. Have you seen Kyler Murray, what he looks like in white? Most of that team, they just look slower. They look smaller. They look frail when they're in the white jerseys. Griffey, that makes my decision here very tough. I said 14 points if they're wearing black and red. The Cardinals win by 13 in the whites, Griffey. They win by 13. They roll. It's about time we see the Vikings lose. I've been picking against them the last month now. The Vikings can't figure out how to lose games. They get in these close matchups. It has to work for us one time. So I'm going to take the Cardinals this week. They're still vying that NFC West. It's undecided who's going to be the division winner there. And so the Cardinals take a big leap forward if they get the win on Sunday.
Schmitty with the zigzag. I'm keeping it simple this week. I kind of want to do the same thing too, but I'm picking the Vikings. And now for the primetime feature, we got to talk the main course for Thanksgiving, Packers Dolphins. We got Tua coming back, and he's looked good in recent weeks here, Dad. How do you feel about our chances against Miami at home? They going to be able to handle the northern autumn wind?
I think you may be able to verify my theorem here, but if I'm not mistaken, I know this is only the second time the Packers have hosted a game at home on Thanksgiving. Do you remember the other game? You were involved in that game, as was I, in 2015 when the Packers played the Bears in a downpour and Brett Favre came back at midfield with Bart Starr, if I'm not mistaken. Does this ring a bell? And I have been in a lot of outdoor situations. I'm a duck hunter. I'm a deer hunter. I have weathered the storm in many of those. I've sat with my face into an east blizzard, blowing into my face with temperatures of 10 degrees, with snow blowing in my face, waiting for a buck to walk out for 4 hours. And he did walk out, and that's another story. But I've never been more miserable than I was that night at Lambeau Field with the rain coming down sideways, 38 degrees, and we lost to the Bears. So we're going to right that wrong, and we're going to take care of business against Miami. And if we can get our receivers, could it be possible, Schmitty, that this is the game where our receivers play up to their potential, do not drop a ball, and we will score in the 30s if we get that done? And Miami's got a good ball club, so they'll score about 23. So there's your pick for Thanksgiving primetime night football.
Schmitty?
Griffey, with these short weeks, these NFL teams, they no longer really put the pads on. This is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is really these sort of matchups, the Packers being 3-point favorites, I believe, right now. These matchups are really dictated by the coaching. What can you put the players in the best positions? Now, Matt LaFleur, we know he would be a hot commodity if he was a free agent by any NFL team to be their head ball coach. Same with Mike McDaniels. He's done a pretty good job. He's turned that franchise around and made them viable in the AFC East. And so it's, for me, I'm questioning if we have an advantage in the cold. Do we have an advantage in the cold? They're playing a team against Miami that doesn't see these types of weather games very often, maybe once every 4 or 5 seasons. So you would hope that they would give us an advantage, even by us doing the walkthroughs outside. Jair Alexander being out likely will be a very big problem, especially when you're going up against Waddle, who looked really good last week, and Tyreek Hill, who is one of the best. Tua is known one of the better long ball throwers. So this is definitely a good test for our secondary and Williams and Xavier McKinney. Griffey, I like to pick one defensive player as the key person to watch, and that's Quay Walker. Quay Walker needs to show up again, be good where he has been, and that's in pass coverage. If we can do that, Griffey, the Packers, they're going to win. They're going to win, Griffey. We're going to go to 9-3. We're going to win by just 4 points. It's going to be really, really close. I think if whatever the over is, people are assuming that it's going to be 15 degrees and blustery, that these guys aren't going to score points. I think it's going to be a Jordan Love come out party. Just with how much we're talking up this run game carries, it would be about time for Matt LaFleur, who did it very well last week, when a lot of times we thought they were going to run, the Packers ran a pass for a first down. So I wouldn't be shocked if Jordan Love throws the balls 35 times on Thursday night. I would actually kind of appreciate it. So the Packers win, Griffey.
I'm jacked up to hear that coming out of your lips, Schmitty. I think you're right, Dad, in saying that the receivers are going to make a big difference in this game, but I think it's going to be those Dolphins receivers. Can we contain Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle? As you said, Schmitty. Interesting stat, Jaden Reed has more yards and touchdowns than either Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle. I don't think we would have had that on our bingo card coming into the season. I don't think that trend continues. I think Tua gets right a little bit. I was thinking the Packers needed one more game to wake us up, and I thought it might come last week against the Niners and Brock Purdy, but without Brock able to go, I had to do a little switcheroo. I think we still need one more wake-up call, boys. I hate to do it. I think the Dolphins get it done on Thanksgiving evening, and hopefully this is the last loss for the Packers.
You're going to ruin
this year.
Thanksgiving. You're ruining Thanksgiving for all these good people, all these good listeners. Shame on you. Shame on you. The holiday, the day to be thankful for the people around the table, most of whom are going to be Packers fans, and you're going to do this? Shame on you.
I'm thankful for what's to come after this. I think we got one more bump in the road. Make us relish this final stretch here. Schmitty, do you have any closing thoughts for us this evening?
Griffey, the time to be thankful. Thursday night, we get to watch Packers football on maybe the best holiday in the United States of America. Thanksgiving, you pass around, you get to have 4, 8, 9, 12 fingers. All right. Shooting the stuff with your family members, the cousins that you're estranged from. It's a good time to bring the family together, have a good meal, and watch the Green Bay Packers to victory.
I love it. Dad, any closing thoughts for us here?
I'm just in a stupor here. I don't know whether to cry. I don't know what to do. My son is wearing Helga braids last week. He's got that Helga helmet around his head. There's some kind of metallic free radicals that have leached into his brain, and he's cheering for the Vikings. And then he's got Miami coming to town and winning this game. And I what are we going to do at Thanksgiving? We're going to have to say an extra prayer. We're going to have to say.
Well, I didn't say who I was cheering for. We're rooting for the Packers.
Last week he said they were going to lose. They weren't going to lose again after last week. So now he's already doubling back on his word. He's doctored these standings with these picks of these other meaningless games in the division to taint the records of picking the Packer games. So I don't know where we are, here, there, everywhere. But let me say something of a germane interest to the viewers out there. It looks like Romeo Dobbs is out for the game. It looks like Jair is out. It looks like Edgerrin Cooper is out. It looks like Isaiah McDuffie is out. So we're going to be playing a few men down, which means we're going to have to see Dontavian Wicks and Christian Watson and maybe, Schmitty, a little Malik Heath and Bo Melton mixed in there. And I think you might see something schemed up for Bo Melton. Remember when Bo emerged last year, late in the year, for the first 100-yard game for all the receivers? And if we get that going, they're going to be loading up to stop Josh Jacobs, and I think Matt LaFleur is going to give him the old whoopsie doodle, the old fumble-rooski doo. And gentlemen, I got the cheese, and it's provolone this week.
Can we steal Grant DeBose back from the Dolphins sideline? Is that an option? I think he's still over there with the Dolphins. I look forward to being with you, Dad, on Thanksgiving. Schmitty, we'll see you next week. And, I got a little holiday problem with this whole Black Friday thing. Well, let me get that off my chest here. Take the time to be thankful throughout the whole weekend. We don't need to go crazy with the rampant consumerism on Black Friday. Can we be thankful for a whole weekend? Is that allowed? That's my 2 cents on that one. Boys, good to be with you. Excited to do it again next week.
Love you all.